The purpose of this video is to equip teachers with concepts and techniques inspired by social learning theory that will decrease the number of behavioral documentations over the course of an entire semester when compared to previous semesters. So what's in it for you, the teacher? A classroom where all students are learning, students have positive interactions between fellow students and teachers, and you have an enjoyable work environment with increased productivity. You are already an expert. As we learn these concepts, think about times you used them in the past. Undoubtedly, you have used these techniques and concepts as a matter of effective teaching. This video is just to merely refresh why these techniques work, and so you can articulate them to people who challenge you. I also would like you to think of your students. Think of 2 students who could use more self-esteem and 2 students who exhibit behavior issues. Social learning cognition theory originated from Albert Bandura. After doing many social experiments and researching behaviorism, he believed that the simplistic idea of reinforcement versus punishments alone could not explain what he observed in determining manifestations of behavior. Instead, he proposed a phenomenon called reciprocal determination, where behaviors manifest differently if a person is in a different environment. Furthermore, a behavior of a specific function can cause a change in the environment in a way that will require a behavior of the same function to change. Bandura added to this theory by including a third element, which was the personality of that person. Bandura researching aggression. Bandura's most notable experiment is the Bobo doll experiment. In a nutshell, this experiment consisted of an adult beating on a Bobo doll with a mallet and having children watch the film. When the children were then allowed to play alone in a different room that had a Bobo doll and mallet, and a whole other variety of toys to play with, almost every child exhibited the same aggressive behavior to the Bobo doll that they observed the adult taking part in. No matter how they changed the experiment, different objects, with or without rewards, with or without punishments, even having live humans receive the aggression, the findings remained consistent. Children would exhibit the behavior of the adult. This led Bandura to several points. Behavior can be learned from others modeling that behavior. Behavior is learned and retained when the modeled behavior is imitated. Direct reinforcement alone does not drive imitation. Rather, motivation of past, promised, or vicarious reinforcement also drives imitation. And, finally, punishment never works as well as reinforcement. Bandura also determined that we can control our own behavior through self-regulation. Self-regulation consists of a person self-observing behaviors, a person analyzing their environment, a person analyzing their self, and a person then metering their response to achieve the goal of a behavior. This, of course, happens almost instantaneously and subconsciously. Social learning theory in the classroom. The main idea we can take away from this theory is the effectiveness of models in shaping students' social behavior. We can therefore utilize and model self-regulation techniques and appropriate actions in very specific ways that promote acceptable behavior. We must also realize that if we fail to analyze students' behaviors in the frame of functionality to achieve reinforcement, then we will not be able to provide models that students are motivated to imitate. Children see models all around them. Models are everywhere, but Bandura believed that behaviors that are reinforced by family members are the most prominent source of behavior modeling. Other models include peer or peer groups, television shows, YouTube videos, video game chat rooms. We can effectively out-model these models by understanding a model's primary function and utilizing that knowledge to develop our models and structure reinforcement to increase student self-control. What does a model do exactly? Models serve as cues to begin or end an action or behavior. Models strengthen or weaken the learner's existing restraints. And models demonstrate new patterns of behavior. How can a model cue something? An example of this is a model student sees another student pull out his pencil and math journal. The observing student sees the model and takes the cue to pull out their own pencil and math journal. There is a caveat, however. Cues will only be effective if the observing student is attending to the model student. So how do models strengthen restraints? A model student gets punished for engaging in a behavior. The observing student does not want to get punished and therefore will not engage in that behavior. The caveat in this case is that the behavior will most likely continue when outside of the environment where the punishment occurred and may only be deterred if punishment is consistently applied with increased severity. How are restraints weakened? Restraints can be weakened if punishments are not consistently delivered. If inappropriate redirection, for example, yelling or physical redirection, is modeled to the student restraints, then the student's restraints can be weakened. If the punishment itself serves an alternative desired function apart from the first goal of the behavior, then restraints will also be weakened. How are new behaviors formed? Teachers can model new behaviors that achieve the same goal that an inappropriate behavior attempts to obtain. In order for this modeling to be effective, it is important that the new modeled behavior is taught within the context of addressing values and socially acceptable behavior for the current environment. So in conclusion, students exhibit behaviors because of how they themselves interact with the environment, how the environment affects them, and what behaviors they have exhibited in the past. Students will imitate models based on a level of motivation to do so. Students are affected by many different models that vicariously shape their behavior. The goal of modeling should be to create self-control in the student rather than simply punishing the undesired behavior. And this modeling is most effective when tied to a system of values that students can appeal to when faced with the challenge to their self-control. We will continue looking at social learning theory in later videos and later professional developments in order to develop further techniques that will help you secure your classroom and help all students be successful. Thank you for watching.